I learned his name the night the moon nearly killed him. That was the night I swore I would never speak it, not in anger, not in love, not even in prayer. Because the moment Alarion Blackmoor's true name left my lips, the Alpha King would die. For 8 years, I lived in his shadow, voiceless by choice. They believed I was broken, mute, harmless. But silence was the only thing keeping him alive. He ruled wolves and kingdoms with blood and command, yet he never knew the most dangerous power he possessed was hearing his name spoken by me. Every day, Alarion Blackmoor watched me as if something about my presence calmed the storm inside him. Every night, the bond pulled tighter, demanding truth, demanding sound. The court wanted answers. Melis Moonseer watched me with knowing eyes. And the Alpha King began to suspect I was hiding something far more deadly than silence. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to warn him. But love makes cowards of prophets. Because if I ever spoke his name aloud, the curse would awaken. And I would be the one who killed the man I loved. Before the story begins. If you love werewolf romances filled with sacrifice, fate, and forbidden bonds, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves dark fantasy stories. Your support helps stories like this find their way to the ones who need them. Now, let's continue. I was 16 when I learned that names could kill. The blood moon hung low that night, swollen and crimson, casting shadows that writhed like living things across the sacred grove. I shouldn't have been there. The lunar rites were forbidden to unbonded wolves, but something had pulled me from my bed, a tug behind my ribs, insistent as a scream. That's when I saw him collapse. Alarion Blackmoor, the Alpha King, dropped to his knees in the center of the ritual circle. His body convulsed, black veins spreading like cracks across his skin. The elders scrambled backward, terror bleeding through their practiced composure. I ran forward without thinking. Don't touch him. Melis Moonseer's voice cut through the chaos. She stood at the edge of the circle, silver eyes gleaming with something that looked almost like satisfaction. The prophecy is activating. What prophecy? My voice shook. Alarion's eyes found mine through his pain, golden, wild, desperate. Even suffering, he was magnificent. Something in my chest answered him, a pull so violent it stole my breath. Melis tilted her head, studying us both. Ah, so fate has already begun weaving. She stepped closer, her robes whispering against the ground. The Alpha King carries a curse in his bloodline. When his true name is spoken by his fated mate, the bond will consume him. He will die within moments. The words hit me like cold water. I'm not. You are. Melis smiled thin and knowing. I can see the threads connecting you. The moon has chosen, girl. And she is not kind. Alarion's breathing steadied, the black veins slowly receding. He pushed himself upright, confusion and fury warring in his expression. His gaze locked onto me, searching. Who are you? His voice was rough, commanding even in weakness. I opened my mouth. Closed it. His name sat on my tongue like honey and ash, Alarion. I wanted to say it. Needed to. The bond screamed for recognition. Don't answer. Melis's hand clamped around my wrist. Once he hears his name from your lips, the curse activates fully. There will be no reversing it. Then break the bond, I said desperately. There has to be a way. Fate cannot be broken, only delayed. Melis leaned close, her breath cold against my ear. But there is an option. A lunar oath. You bind your voice to the moon's silence. You never speak his true name, and he lives. And if I don't take the oath? Then the bond will force the words from you eventually. Love always demands truth. Her grip tightened. You have until dawn to decide. Speak freely now, or swear silence forever. I looked at Alarion. He was watching me with an intensity that made my heart stutter. He didn't know what we were. Didn't understand why his body had recognized mine before his mind could catch up. But I knew. And I knew what I had to do. I'll take the oath. Melis smiled. A wise sacrifice. The moon seemed to pulse as she began the ritual. Words in a language older than memory. I felt something wrap around my throat, not painful but absolute. A lock clicking into place. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Alarion stepped forward, concern flickering across his face. What did you do to her? Meleys just smiled. I saved your life, my king. I wanted to scream. To warn him. To say his name one last time before silence claimed me forever. But I'd made my choice. If I stay silent, he lives. Even if it destroys me. 8 years of silence changes you. I learned to read the shift in someone's posture before they dismissed me. Learned which servants would meet my eyes and which looked through me like I was a shadow. The court called me the mute healer. A curiosity at best, an inconvenience at worst. No one remembered the girl from the blood moon. Meleys had seen to that, weaving her magic through their memories until I was just another nameless servant who'd always been voiceless. All except him. You're staring again. I kept my eyes on the herbs I was grinding, but Alara, the kitchen healer, was too observant for her own good. She leaned against the work table, arms crossed. The king comes to the healing wing more than any warrior I've ever known. And it's never for himself. She paused. It's to see you. My hands stilled. She wasn't wrong. 3 times this week alone, Alarion had found reasons to seek out the healing chambers. A strained shoulder. Questions about sleeping drafts. Once, he'd simply stood in the doorway, watching me work, before leaving without a word. He feels it, Alara continued softly. The bond. Even if he doesn't understand what it is. I reached for my writing slate, chalk already in hand. He can't know. Why not? Alara's voice held frustration. 8 years, Aveline. 8 years you've suffered alone while he... The slate clattered as I wrote faster. If he knows, he'll demand answers. If I answer, he dies. Before Alara could respond, the door opened. My heart knew who it was before I turned. Alarion Blackmoor commanded every space he entered. Broader now than at 20, with a presence that made seasoned warriors step aside. His dark hair was tied back, revealing the sharp lines of his face, those golden eyes that seemed to see straight through armor and pretense. Those eyes that had been haunting my dreams for 8 years. I need something for headaches, he said, though his gaze was already on me. They've been persistent. Alara bowed. Of course, my king. Aveline prepares the best remedy for. I know. His voice was quieter. That's why I'm here. He moved closer as Alara retreated to give us privacy, and I felt that familiar pull. The bond hadn't weakened with time. If anything, it had grown roots, sinking deeper with every year we existed in the same space, circling each other like twin stars. I gathered feverfew and willow bark, aware of him watching my hands. My every movement. Do you ever wish you could speak? The question caught me off guard. When I looked up, something raw flickered in his expression. I find myself wondering what your voice sounds like. If you're as calm inside as you appear on the surface. My chest tightened. If you only knew. He reached out slowly, giving me time to retreat, and brushed his fingers across my knuckles. The touch ignited every nerve ending. You calm something in me, he admitted, voice low. I don't understand it. But when the kingdom feels like it's tearing itself apart, when the weight of every decision threatens to crush me, I come here. And you're here. And it's quiet. I wanted to write 1,000 things. That I felt it too. That the bond was real. That I'd given up my voice so he could keep breathing. Instead, I just handed him the remedy. His fingers lingered against mine a moment too long before he took the bottle. Thank you, Aveline. The way he said my name, careful, reverent, made me ache. As he turned to leave, he paused at the door. The full moon gathering is tomorrow night. You should come. I'd like. He hesitated. I'd like you there. When he left, Alara exhaled sharply. That man is falling in love with you. I picked up my slate with shaking hands. I know. That's what I'm afraid of. The full moon gathering was a display of power wrapped in ceremony. Alphas from every pack filled the great hall, their wolves just beneath the surface, sizing each other up. I stayed near the shadows where servants belonged, watching silver platters pass and alliances form over wine and false smiles. But I felt his eyes on me all night. You came. Alarion's voice made me turn. He stood close enough that his warmth bled into the cool air around me. I wasn't certain you would. I nodded, clutching my slate like a shield. Walk with me. It wasn't quite a command, but the crowd parted automatically as he offered his arm. After a moment's hesitation, I took it. He led me through the corridors to a balcony overlooking the moonlit forest. The sounds of the gathering faded behind us, replaced by night wind and distant wolf songs. I requested your presence at the council meetings, he said abruptly. Starting tomorrow. My eyes widened. I reached for my slate. Why? Because when tensions rise, you're the only one who doesn't add to the noise. He leaned against the stone railing, moonlight carving shadows across his face. You listen. You observe. And somehow, your silence makes me think more clearly than any advisor's words. I'm just a healer. You're more than that. His gaze held mine, intense and searching. You've always been more. I felt it since. He stopped, frustration flickering across his features. I can't explain it. There's something about you that my wolf recognizes. That I recognize. My heart hammered against my ribs. The bond was pulling, demanding acknowledgement. I could feel his wolf reaching for mine, confused by the barrier between us. Do you feel it too? He asked quietly. The truth would damn us both. I looked away, but his hand caught my chin, gentle but insistent, turning me back to face him. I need to know I'm not losing my mind. His thumb brushed my cheek, and the touch sent fire through my veins. Every instinct I have screams that you're important. That I should protect you. That you're yours, I thought desperately. I'm yours and you're mine, and it's killing me that I can't say it. Say something, he whispered. Anything. Even if it's just my name. The request shattered me. His name sat on my tongue, sacred and forbidden. Alarion. If I could give him anything, it would be that, the sound of his name from my lips. But the moment I did, he would die. I shook my head, stepping back, and his hand fell away. Pain flashed across his face. Is it fear? His voice roughened. Do I frighten you? I grabbed my slate frantically. Never. You could never frighten me. Then why? Your Majesty. Melis Munsir's voice cut through the moment like a blade. She stood in the doorway, silver eyes gleaming with knowing malice. Forgive the interruption, but the Northern Alpha is asking for you. Alarion's jaw clenched. It can wait. I'm afraid it cannot. Melis's gaze slid to me. Unless you'd prefer to neglect your duties for a servant girl who won't even speak to you? The insult hung in the air. Alarion's eyes flashed dangerously, his alpha presence flooding the balcony. Watch your tongue, seer. My apologies. But her smile said otherwise. I simply wonder what hold this mute has over you. It's unnatural. I felt his wolf surge, protective and furious. Before he could respond, I touched his arm and wrote quickly, Go. Your pack needs you. He looked at me for a long moment, conflict warring in his expression. Then he leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. This conversation isn't finished. As he left, Melis lingered. Clever girl. But the bond grows stronger with every moon. How much longer do you think you can resist? I met her gaze steadily and wrote, As long as it takes. Pride before the fall, she murmured. When you finally break, I'll be there to watch. Alone on the balcony, I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling my heart race. He'd almost kissed me. And I'd almost let him. One word would end everything. The council chamber felt smaller with Alarion's request granted. I sat in the corner, slate in hand, while alphas argued over territory disputes and trade routes. Most ignored me. A few shot curious glances. But Alarion kept his word. Whenever the debate grew heated, his eyes would find mine, and something in him would settle. It was Melis who shattered the peace. My king, I must speak. She rose from her seat, moonstone jewelry catching the light. The visions have grown. Troubling. Every alpha straightened. Moon visions were rarely shared lightly. What have you seen? Alarion's voice was measured, but I heard the edge beneath. Instability in the pack bonds. A disruption in fate's weaving. Her gaze swept the room before landing on me, centered around someone in this very court. My blood went cold. Explain, Alarion commanded. There is one among us who carries a secret that threatens the natural order. Melis moved closer to my corner, each step deliberate. Someone who manipulates through silence. Who binds fate without permission. That's enough. Alarion stood, and the room trembled with his authority. If you have an accusation, speak it plainly. Very well. Melis turned fully to face me, triumph gleaming in her silver eyes. The mute healer is not what she appears. She carries knowledge of prophecy. Knowledge she's kept hidden from you for 8 years. Whispers erupted around the table. I gripped my slate, mind racing. Alarion's voice cut through the noise. Aveline. I wrote quickly, hands shaking. She's lying. Am I? Melis smiled. Then let me test that. Tell us, girl, do you know the nature of the curse that binds our king's bloodline? The trap closed around me. If I denied it, she'd call me a liar and provide proof. If I admitted it, Alarion would demand to know why I'd kept silent. I met Alarion's eyes and saw confusion there. Betrayal beginning to take root. I know of it, I wrote finally. How long have you known? His voice was quiet, dangerous. Since the blood moon. 8 years ago. The chamber fell silent. I watched his expression shift, confusion to realization to something that looked like pain. You've known this entire time. It wasn't a question. You've stood beside me, listened to my concerns, my fears, and you said nothing. I couldn't. Couldn't? Or wouldn't? His hands pressed flat against the table. What else are you hiding? What else have you kept from me while He stopped himself, jaw clenched. Melis moved between us like a serpent. The prophecy states that the king's fated mate will be his doom. That her voice carries his death. She paused. She knows this. She's always known. Is that true? Alarion's eyes searched mine, desperate for denial. I couldn't give him one. Yes. Then why stay? His voice cracked. Why torture us both with proximity if speaking means my death? Because I love you, I wanted to scream. Because silence was the only gift I could give you. Because every day beside you was worth the agony of never saying your name. But I couldn't write any of that. Not here. Not with Melis watching, waiting. I stayed to protect you. Protect me. He laughed bitterly. By lying? By making me feel. He stopped again, turning away. Get out. The words hit like a physical blow. Your Majesty, one of the alphas began. Everyone out. Now. The council emptied quickly. I stood on shaking legs, but Melis caught my arm as I passed. You've destabilized everything, she hissed low enough that only I could hear. The bond demands resolution. Either you speak and end him, or I'll force the truth myself. I jerked free and fled. Behind me, I heard something shatter. If I do, you will die. The words I'd written him once, now meaningless. Because staying silent was killing him anyway. Just slower. And far more cruel. 3 days passed without a word from Alarion. I threw myself into healing work, grinding herbs until my hands cramped, tending wounds that didn't require my skill. Anything to avoid the hollow ache in my chest where the bond used to hum contentedly. Now it throbbed with his anger. His hurt. The door to the healing chamber slammed open near midnight. I jumped, scattering dried lavender across the table. Alarion stood in the doorway, eyes wild, chest heaving like he'd run the entire way. We need to talk. Now. I reached for my slate, but he crossed the room in 3 strides and took it from my hands. No more writing. No more barriers. His voice was raw, desperate. I've spent 3 days trying to understand. Trying to make sense of why you'd carry this alone. And I can't." His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. "I can't breathe without answers." My heart hammered against my ribs. His touch ignited every nerve ending, the bond surging between us like lightning seeking ground. "The seer said you're my fated mate." His golden eyes searched mine. "Is that true?" I nodded slowly, unable to deny it any longer. "And my name?" His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "If you speak my name, I die." Another nod. Tears burned behind my eyes. "Then why didn't you run?" His forehead pressed against mine, our breaths mingling. "Why stay here, year after year, torturing yourself? Torturing me?" I grabbed his wrist, wishing I could pour the truth directly from my heart to his. "Because I love you. Because your life matters more than my voice. Because even a lifetime of silence beside you is better than a world where you don't exist." "Say it," he demanded suddenly. "Say my name." I jerked back, shaking my head violently. "I need to hear it." His hands tightened on my face, not painful but desperate. "I need to know if this is real or if I'm going mad. If you're truly my mate, then prove it. Speak." Tears spilled over. I tried to pull away, but he held firm. "Alarion." He said his own name, voice breaking. "That's all I need. Just my name from your lips. Then I'll know." The bond screamed. It felt like my chest was being torn open, my wolf howling for her mate. The urge to obey him, to give him what he asked for, was overwhelming. My lips parted. His name sat there, ready. Alarion. But then I saw it, the black veins beginning to spider across his neck. Just like that night 8 years ago. The curse was already responding to the bond's intensity, to our proximity, to how desperately we both wanted this. I slammed my hand over my mouth, stepping back so fast I hit the table. Alarion staggered, touching his neck. When he looked at his fingers, confusion flickered across his face. "What just?" I grabbed parchment with shaking hands and wrote in large frantic letters, "If I do, you will die. Right now. In front of me." He read it once. Twice. Then looked up at me with something like horror. "The curse activates the moment you speak?" "Yes. Not gradually. Not with warning. Just death." He sank into a chair, head in his hands. We stayed like that for a long time, the only sound our ragged breathing. Finally, he spoke without looking up. "I'm in love with a woman who can never say my name." My slate clattered as I wrote, "I'm in love with a man whose name would kill him." When his eyes met mine again, they shimmered with unshed tears. "This is cruel," he whispered. "Even for fate." "I know. I want to hold you. I want to hear you laugh. I want mornings where you tell me about your dreams." His voice cracked. "I want everything the bond promises, and I can't have any of it. You're alive. That's all that matters." He stood abruptly, moving to the window. "I need time. To think. He couldn't finish. As he reached the door, he paused without turning back. "For what it's worth. I understand now. Why you stayed silent. And I'm sorry I made you feel like it was a betrayal." Then he was gone. I collapsed against the table, pressing my fist to my mouth to muffle the sobs. I spoke his name again at dawn, not to save his life, but to begin ours. Not yet. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The summons came at dawn. A royal guard appeared at my door, his expression unreadable. "The king requires your presence in the throne room. Immediately." My stomach dropped. Throne room meant public. Formal. Witnessed. The great hall was already filled when I arrived. Every alpha, every council member, every high-ranking wolf in the kingdom. They parted as I walked through, their stares heavy with judgment and curiosity. Alarion sat on his throne, but his eyes found mine instantly. I saw the apology there, the regret. Whatever was about to happen, he hadn't wanted this. Melis stood beside the throne, draped in ceremonial robes, her silver eyes gleaming with victory. "We are gathered to address a matter of fate," she announced, her voice carrying through the chamber. For 8 years, a deception has festered in this court. Today it ends. Meleys, Alarion's warning was low. The people deserve truth, my king. As do you. She turned to face the crowd. The mute healer standing before you is not simply a servant. She is your fated mate, bound by the moon itself. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Alarion's hands clenched on the armrests. And more than that, Meleys continued, she carries knowledge of a curse that threatens your very life. A prophecy she has hidden from you, from all of us, while positioning herself at your side. She was protecting me, Alarion said sharply, rising from his throne. She took a vow of silence to manipulate fate. Meleys's voice cracked like a whip. She bound herself with lunar magic without permission from the Moon Council. She altered destiny's course for personal gain. Personal gain? I snatched my slate, writing furiously. I gave up my voice to save his life. So you claim. Meleys moved closer, circling me like a predator. But who witnessed this oath? Who verified its necessity? Only you, girl. Only you and your convenient silence. The curse is real, Alarion said, descending the steps. I felt it. The bond. The bond exists, yes. Meleys's smile was sharp. But curses can be broken, your majesty. Prophecies can be rewritten. If she truly cared for you, she would have sought help. Consulted the Moon Council. Found a way to break the curse rather than simply. She gestured at me dismissively. Existing beside you like a ghost. My hands shook as I wrote, there is no breaking it. I tried. Did you? Meleys tilted her head. Or did you enjoy the power of being the only one who could stand close to the king? The only one he sought out? Special. Important. Indispensable. Enough. Alarion's alpha command rolled through the chamber, making wolves bare their throats instinctively. You will not speak to her that way. Then let her speak for herself. Meleys's eyes glittered dangerously. Let her say your name, your majesty. Prove the curse is real. If she truly loves you, if her silence is truly sacrifice and not manipulation, let her speak. The crowd murmured agreement. I saw it in their faces. Doubt, suspicion, the desire for spectacle. No, Alarion said flatly. I forbid it. You forbid testing the truth? Meleys spread her hands. My king, if the curse is real, then we must find a way to break it. But if it's false? Her gaze slid to me. Then this creature has deceived us all. I grabbed Alarion's arm, shaking my head desperately. He covered my hand with his, protective. The council demands proof, an alpha called out. Others echoed the sentiment. Meleys smiled. Then let us test it properly. In 3 days, at the next full moon, she will speak your name before witnesses. If the curse is real, we will see it activate. And if it's false? Her voice hardened. She will face execution for treason. You can't, Alarion started. It is pack law, another alpha interjected. Deception of this magnitude requires trial. The chamber erupted in debate. Alarion pulled me close, his voice urgent in my ear. I won't let them hurt you. I'll find another way. I wrote on my slate with trembling hands, 3 days to break a curse that's held for 8 years. His jaw clenched. Then we have 3 days to save both our lives. As guards escorted me out, I looked back once. Meleys stood watching, triumph written across her face. She'd gotten exactly what she wanted. A deadline. The cell was cold, but I barely felt it. 2 days had passed since the trial announcement. 2 days of Alarion sending scholars, healers, and ancient texts to my prison. 2 days of desperate searching for a loophole that didn't exist. The moon knew what she'd done. And she didn't forgive easily. Aveline. Ilara's voice came through the bars. She held a tray of food I wouldn't eat. The king has been in the archives for 30 hours straight. He won't sleep. Won't eat. Her voice broke. He's destroying himself trying to save you. I closed my eyes. Of course he was. There has to be something, she continued. Some way to. I held up my slate. There isn't. I've known that for 8 years. Then what happens tomorrow? Ilara demanded. You speak and he dies? You stay silent and they execute you? Those can't be the only options. But they were. Fate had always been leading to this moment, the choice between his death and mine. I'd chosen his life once before. I would choose it again. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Alarion appeared, looking like he'd been through war. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his hair was disheveled, and his hands were stained with ink from countless texts. Leave us, he told Ilara quietly. When we were alone, he gripped the bars like he could tear them apart through will alone. I found something. A ritual. It's dangerous, barely documented, but... I shook my head. You haven't even heard it yet. Desperation leaked through his control. We could transfer the curse. Bind it to someone else. Melis, maybe. She created this trap, she should. It won't work. How do you know? Because I tried everything 8 years ago. Every ritual. Every loophole. Every prayer. I met his eyes. The moon doesn't negotiate. His hands dropped. Then I'll stop the execution. Call it off. Send you away where they can't. And live as a fugitive? Always running? I wrote faster. You're a king. You can't abandon your pack for me. Watch me. His voice was fierce. I'll burn this entire kingdom down before I let them hurt you. That's exactly what Melis wants. Chaos. Instability. You breaking pack law. I don't care about. I do. The chalk snapped under my force. I didn't give up 8 years of my life so you could destroy everything you built. Silence stretched between us. Finally, Alarion unlocked the cell and stepped inside. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I can't lose you, he whispered against my hair. Not like this. I buried my face in his chest, memorizing his scent, his warmth, the steady beat of his heart. The heart I'd kept beating for 8 years. There has to be another way, he said, but his voice had lost its certainty. I pulled back enough to write, there is. Hope flared in his eyes. I speak your name. You die. But you die knowing I loved you enough to stay silent. Die knowing the bond was real. No. He crumpled the parchment. Absolutely not. Or I stay silent tomorrow and they execute me. You live. You lead. You find someone else. There is no one else. His shout echoed off stone walls. Do you understand? The bond chose you. My wolf chose you. I chose you. I don't want to live in a world where you're not in it. You don't have a choice. Neither do you. He cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. If you die tomorrow, I follow. I won't survive losing you. The truth of it shone in his eyes. This wasn't threat or manipulation. It was simple fact. The bond had tied us together so completely that losing one would destroy the other. So we're trapped, he said bitterly. Cursed in every direction. I pressed my hand over his heart. Not cursed. Fated. What's the difference? One we chose. Horns sounded in the distance, the call to dawn gathering. Tomorrow had become today. The trial is at moonrise, Alarion said quietly. 6 hours. I nodded. Aveline. He hesitated. If you speak my name tomorrow. I placed my fingers over his lips, stopping him. I won't. Then they'll. I know. His arms tightened around me one last time. I'm sorry. For all of it. For not being strong enough to break fate. I shook my head and wrote my final message. You were always strong enough. Fate was just stronger. As he left, I heard him give an order to the guards. Let no one disturb her. Not even me. I sat in the darkness, waiting for moonrise. I spoke his name again at dawn. Not yet. Maybe never. They brought me to the center of the courtyard as the moon rose. The entire pack had gathered, hundreds of wolves, all waiting to witness either my death or Alarion's. Torches burned around the execution platform, casting dancing shadows across the stones. Melis stood at the edge of the circle, silver robes gleaming. The accused will step forward. Guards pushed me toward the center. My hands were bound, my slate taken. No more words. No more delays. Aveline Crowe, Melis announced, you stand accused of manipulating fate, deceiving your king, and binding yourself with forbidden magic. You will now prove the truth of your claims. She gestured to Alarion, who stood rigid on the platform, every muscle tensed. Speak the Alpha King's name, or face execution for treason. The crowd murmured. I could feel their hunger for resolution, for spectacle. I met Alarion's eyes across the distance. Saw the barely contained panic there. The desperate calculation. Speak, Melis commanded. I shook my head. The accused refuses. Melis turned to the executioner. Prepare. Wait. Alarion's voice cut through the night. He descended from the platform, moving toward me with predatory grace. I invoke Alpha's right. The crowd went silent. Even Melis looked surprised. Your Majesty, that law is ancient, binding, absolute. Alarion stopped in front of me, his presence overwhelming. As Alpha King, I can command any member of my pack to speak truth. They cannot refuse. They cannot resist. His eyes held mine, apologetic and determined. Even if it kills them. Horror shot through me. No. No, he wouldn't. I'm sorry, he whispered, low enough only I could hear. But I finally understand. He stepped back, and his alpha power rolled across the courtyard like thunder. Every wolf dropped to one knee instinctively. Even Melis bowed her head. Aveline Crowe, his voice resonated with ancient authority, the kind that couldn't be denied. I command you as your alpha, as your king, as your, he paused, voice softening impossibly, as your mate. Speak my true name. The command hit me like a physical force. My lips parted against my will. The oath I'd taken 8 years ago shattered like glass, unable to withstand an alpha command from my fated mate. The name rose in my throat, inevitable as sunrise. No. Please. Not like this. But my mouth opened. My voice, unused for 8 years, rough and broken, finally emerged. Alarion. His name fell from my lips like a prayer. Like a curse. Like both. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the black veins erupted across his skin, spreading from his heart outward like cracks in porcelain. He staggered, gasping, and I screamed, actually screamed, the sound tearing from my newly freed throat. Alarion. I lunged forward, but guards held me back. He collapsed to his knees, those golden eyes finding mine even as darkness spread across his face. Worth it, he choked out. To hear you say it. No, 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 my voice was raw, desperate. Please, not like this, I'll take it back, Melis stepped forward, triumph in her eyes. The curse activates. The prophecy. She froze mid-sentence. The black veins on Alarion's skin began to glow. Not spreading, reversing star. Light poured from where I'd spoken his name, from the bond between us, golden and fierce. Alarion's eyes widened. The command. I used the mate bond to force the words. Impossible, Melis breathed. The curse was bound to her speaking freely, Alarion gasped, understanding dawning. But I commanded it. The bond. It redefines the conditions. The darkness shattered. Instead of spreading to his heart, the curse splintered outward, seeking its original architect. Melis stumbled backward as black veins began crawling up her arms. No. This isn't. I bound it correctly. You bound it to free speech, Alarion managed, pushing himself upright. But commands supersede oaths. The mate bond supersedes curses. He looked at me, wonder in his eyes. She didn't choose to speak. I chose it for her. That's not how prophecy works. Melis clawed at her skin as the darkness spread. You can't rewrite. The moon accepts truth, a voice rang out. An elder stepped forward, eyes glowing silver. The prophecy was incomplete. The mate bond was always meant to shield him, but only if their love proved stronger than fate. The black veins reached Melissa's heart. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound emerged. Then, like smoke in wind, she dissolved into shadow and was gone. Silence blanketed the courtyard. Alarion stumbled toward me, and this time no one stopped us. I crashed into his arms, both of us shaking. "Your voice," he murmured against my hair. "I can finally hear your voice." "You almost died," I choked out, the words strange and wonderful on my tongue. "You almost. But I didn't." He pulled back to look at me, cupping my face. "Because you loved me enough to stay silent. And I loved you enough to risk everything." His thumb brushed my lips. "Say it again." Tears streamed down my face. "Alarion." His smile was brilliant. "Again." "Alarion. Alarion Blackmoor." I laughed through the tears. "My alpha. My mate. My—" He kissed me. And the moon, finally satisfied, looked away. The moon hung directly overhead, full and luminous, watching. I stayed in Alarion's arms as the pack processed what they'd witnessed. Melis gone. The curse broken. A voiceless healer now speaking. "The seer manipulated us all," the elder who'd spoken earlier said. Her silver eyes still glowed with lunar power. She twisted the prophecy, hiding its true meaning. "Explain." Alarion's voice was steady, but his arms tightened protectively around me. The prophecy stated, when the Alpha King's true name is spoken by his fated mate, death will follow. The elder stepped into the moonlight. Melis led us all to believe the king would die. But she knew the truth, death would follow for whoever bound the curse falsely. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "She created the trap 8 years ago," the elder continued, binding the girl with an oath to keep her silent. "She wanted the king isolated, weakened by a bond he couldn't understand. She planned to rule through his instability." "But why?" someone called out. "Power." The elder's gaze swept the assembly. A moon seer who could control fate itself? Who could predict and manipulate the Alpha King's death? She would have been untouchable. I found my voice, still rough but growing stronger. "She told me I was saving him. That silence was the only way." "And you believed her," the elder said gently, "because you loved him. She weaponized your sacrifice." Alarion's jaw clenched. "If I'd known." "You would have done exactly what you did tonight," the elder interrupted. "Risk everything. Command the impossible. Prove your bond was stronger than any curse." She smiled. "The moon watches for moments like these. When love defies what even prophecy demands." "So the curse is truly broken?" Alarion asked. "See for yourself." He looked down at me, and I understood. He needed to hear it again. To prove it was real. "Alarion," I whispered. No black veins. No pain. Just his sharp intake of breath, the wonder in his eyes. "Alarion Blackmoor," I said louder, testing. "Alpha King." He laughed, the sound breaking through 8 years of tension. "I'll never tire of hearing that." The elder raised her hands, and moonlight poured down around us. "The moon accepts this bond. The curse is ended, the deceiver punished, and fate corrected." Her eyes met mine. "Your voice is returned, Aveline Crowe. Speak freely. Love freely." The pack erupted in howls, not of challenge, but of celebration. The sound rolled across the courtyard, primal and joyful. Alarion pulled me closer. "I should have trusted you from the beginning." "You didn't know what you were trusting," I said, marveling at how easily words came now. "I should have found a way to tell you. We both made choices we thought would save each other." He pressed his forehead to mine. "That's what mates do." "Your Majesty." An alpha approached, bowing. "What are your orders regarding the seer's followers?" Several council members were loyal to her. Alarion's expression hardened. "Investigate. Anyone who knowingly helped manipulate fate will answer for it." His voice carried across the courtyard. But those who were deceived, like we all were, have nothing to fear. The Alpha nodded and withdrew. As the crowd began to disperse, Alarion traced his fingers along my jaw. You must have so much to say. 8 years of words locked away. I smiled. Actually, there's only one thing I need to say right now. What's that? I love you. The words felt like breathing. Like coming home. I love you, Alarion Blackmoor. I've loved you since the night I took the oath. Since before that, probably. And I'm going to say it every day for the rest of our lives. His eyes gleamed suspiciously bright. Promise. Promise. He kissed me again, softer this time, reverent. Around us, the pack continued celebrating, but we existed in our own moment. When we finally pulled apart, I looked up at the moon. For 8 years, I'd seen her as my jailer. The one who'd demanded my silence. But tonight, bathed in her light with Alarion's arms around me, I understood. She'd never been punishing me. She'd been protecting us both. Giving us time to grow into a love strong enough to defy prophecy itself. Thank you, I whispered to the moon. She seemed to shine a little brighter. And somewhere in that light, I felt the oath that had bound me finally dissolve completely, leaving nothing but freedom and possibility. Come, Alarion said, taking my hand. We have a kingdom to address. And I want everyone to hear my mate's voice. My mate. I squeezed his hand and followed him toward our future. Speaking freely at last. Dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and rose as I stood on the balcony where he'd first almost kissed me. So much had changed in a single night. You're up early. Alarion's arms wrapped around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. I thought you'd sleep for days after everything. I couldn't. I leaned back against his chest, marveling at how natural it felt. I kept waking up thinking it was a dream, that I'd open my mouth and no sound would come out. Say something, he murmured against my ear. Anything. I need to hear you. I turned in his arms to face him. Good morning, Alarion. His smile was devastating. I'm never going to get used to that. Good morning, my king. Better. Good morning, my mate. He kissed me thoroughly, and I sighed against his lips. 8 years of silence, and now I could tell him everything. Every thought. Every feeling. Every word I'd swallowed down. The council wants to meet this afternoon, he said when we finally broke apart. To formally recognize our bond. Make you, he hesitated. Queen. If you'll have it. Queen. The title felt surreal. Yesterday I'd been a condemned prisoner. Today. I spent 8 years as a voiceless servant, I said slowly. I'm not sure I know how to be anything else. You were never just a servant. His hands framed my face. You were the woman who saved my life by sacrificing everything. Who carried the weight of a curse alone. Who loved me enough to endure 8 years of silence. His golden eyes were fierce. If anyone deserves to stand beside me, it's you. The pack might not accept it. A former servant as their queen. The pack witnessed you defy fate itself last night. He smiled. If they're smart, they'll be terrified of you. I laughed, the sound still strange and wonderful. Is that what you are? Terrified? Absolutely. His expression softened. Terrified I'll wake up and you'll be gone. Terrified I won't be worthy of what you gave up for me. Terrified, his voice dropped, that I'll never be able to thank you enough for those 8 years. I pressed my hand to his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Steady. Strong. Alive. You don't need to thank me, I said quietly. I'd do it again. Every time. I know. He captured my hand, bringing it to his lips. That's what terrifies me most. We stood in comfortable silence as the sun climbed higher. Below, the kingdom was waking. Servants preparing breakfast, guards changing shifts, wolves stretching in the early light. I need to tell you something, I said suddenly. Something I wrote down 1,000 times but never showed you. What? I took a breath. That night at the blood moon, when I saw you collapse, I didn't just choose to save you because you were the Alpha King. I chose you because the moment our eyes met, I knew. Even before the bond snapped fully into place. Even before Melis explained the curse. I met his gaze. I was already in love with you. His eyes widened. You were 16. Old enough to know my heart. I smiled. Foolish enough to think I could live in silence if it meant you lived. And stubborn enough to make it 8 years. 8 years, he repeated wonderingly. You've loved me for 8 years. Longer, if you count all the times I wanted to say it and couldn't. He pulled me impossibly closer. Then let me make something clear. For the rest of our lives, however long we have, I'm going to spend every single day proving I was worth the wait. You already are. Not even close. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. But I'm going to try anyway. The morning bell chimed, signaling the formal start of day. Soon we'd have to face councils and ceremonies, politics and protocol. Soon I'd have to learn what it meant to be queen. But for now, in the golden light of dawn, it was just us. Alarion. I said his name just to feel it on my tongue. Yes. I love you. His smile could have lit the entire kingdom. Say it again. So I did. Again and again, testing my voice, reveling in freedom. And he said it back each time, his words a promise and a prayer. I spoke his name again at dawn, not to save his life this time, but to begin ours. Together. Finally. Free. The end. Epilogue note. They say the moon still watches over them, the Alpha King and his queen who defied prophecy. On clear nights, when the full moon rises, you can hear her voice drifting through the palace halls, speaking his name like a blessing. And in the healing wing, young wolves learn the story of Aveline Crowe, the woman who loved so fiercely she gave up her voice for 8 years. They ask if it was worth it. She always smiles and says, every single moment. Then she takes her mate's hand and speaks his name again, just because she can. Just because she's free. If Aveline and Alarion's fate stayed with you, please like this video, subscribe for more complete werewolf romance stories, and share it with someone who loves emotional fantasy. Thank you for listening. And until the next story, may the moon watch over you.